Hi YouTube, it's Kathy. I'm here doing my very first ever tag on YouTube, which is super exciting. So this tag was started by a booktuber by the name of Ariel Bissett. I'll link it down below. I'm really excited to do this. I really enjoy her videos, and I think that we should just get started. Okay, so here are the questions. They're broken up into elementary, high school, and beyond. What techniques do you think teachers should use to engage young readers? So I'm sure there are tons of different ways that you can get children to engage in reading, but I want to focus on two main ones. One is having books available that have a representation of that child group. I think it's really important to have representation so kids can look at books and see themselves in the protagonists or see themselves in any of the other characters as a way of kind of being able to engage with the literature and see how it affects them. The second way that I want to discuss is reading out loud. Reading out loud is one of the best things. I really have always loved when people read out loud to me. I still make some people do it. If they're willing and able, I always want people to read out loud to me. I love to engage with the storytelling aspect that comes through with a narrator's voice. Do you think that it's a school's job to instill a love of reading? I think it's a school's job to instill a love of learning, and with learning comes that love of reading, or the love of finding things out, or the love of figuring out how this world works and what goes on with that. So I feel that yes, it is the school's job to instill a love of reading, but that's just part of the bigger job of instilling a love of learning. It is a complete possibility that the love of learning that one child has will include reading, and the love of learning that another child has won't include reading for a multitude of different reasons. What was your favorite elementary school read? It's been a really long time since I was in elementary school, and I don't really remember it. I do remember being read to in the library. I remember really just engaging in the storytelling aspect, and maybe that's the first time that I realized that I loved having people read things out loud to me. Or maybe it happened several times before then. Okay, we're on to the high school questions now. Do you think an incorporation of YA novels should be made, and if so, do you have any suggestions? I think that incorporating any type of novel that is likely to have the reader actually want to engage in it is a super fantastic way to go about teaching this love of learning and this love of reading that this whole discussion is about. From my experience, I think I've been able to take more out of a learning experience when I can see myself in characters and see myself in the language that's being used. So yes, some classics are classics for reasons, but bringing in just basically a world that is closer or more understandable to our own into reading, I think that it's invaluable. Ultraviolet by R.J. Anderson, really well written. Even though I'm not a 17-year-old girl, I could see myself in the character, just the trying to figure out, I know I've always been different. I think that is something that resonates with a lot of people. Do you think it's important to include books from a wide variety of nationalities? Absolutely, especially in North America where there are so many different nationalities represented. I think it's really valuable to teach from various nationalities, various different types of books from different places around the world. What was your least favorite book in high school? Sorry, Mr. Biggs, but the novel is Clarissa by Samuel Richardson, 1748, I believe it came out. I technically only read about the first 50 pages, and then read a synopsis, and then did my book report. I found it incredibly boring, which is interesting to me because I really like document-based book format, so like a diary-based book format, that type of thing, and that's the type of book that it was. I think that there was just so much misogyny that I gave up and went, nope, it is not worth my time to read it all. Which is funny because I picked the book in the first place because it was the longest book on the list and I liked a challenge, but I didn't want to subject myself to having to continue through a book that I really wasn't enjoying. And now we're into the beyond category. Do you think there should be an emphasis on creative writing? I think there should be an emphasis on creativity in general. So to give you an example from my high school days, I took a creative writing class. One of the other students did a project that I found amazing. She did an entire creative project without using any words for her creative writing class. Myself and another student were her actors, if you will, and she just took still photographs of us throughout this huge scenario and then published it or put it together into one big book. So you would flip through, kind of like looking through a comic book, but with absolutely no words whatsoever. So I think that teaching creativity as opposed to specifically creative writing is the best way to go. So you can teach creative writing, but I also think that all of the other arts are really valid forms of, again, learning. How do you feel like the reading you did in school affects the reading that you do now? I've always been a reader, but I think that the way that high school specifically affects the way I read now, I think that I gained a love of going outside of my comfort zones. If you had to choose one book that you've read outside of school in the past year to be taught in high schools, which one would you choose? So I read one book this year that I think should be incorporated into elementary school reading or possibly middle school reading, and that book was Wonder. I'll put a link down below. It's a really fantastic story about acceptance that I think would be really valuable, especially at an impressionable age. So I just wanted to throw that out there, even though this is a high school question. Two books sprang to mind that I've read in the past year. One I don't think would make it by the censors, but I'm going to point it out anyway. It's called Audacious. The reason I say it would probably not make it by the censors is there is a decent amount of what one might call sexualized graphic content. Fair enough. I really enjoyed it because the format is all in poems written by the protagonist. And it tells a story all the way through. My other answer to this question, because I don't remember there being any questionable content, if you will, in this one, was The Prime Solitude of Numbers. I really enjoyed this book. The author is from Italy, so it was published in Italy and then later translated. It's a really stunning book about loss and how our childhoods can affect the rest of our lives. I guess these things work that you're supposed to tag somebody to also do the tag, but I'm going to do the cop-out thing and just say anybody who's watching this video who wants to do this tag, please do, and please send me a link when you're done. Thank you for watching my very first tag. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, you can click the subscribe button for my next videos. You can also like this video if you like it, share it if you want to share it. That would be appreciated. If you didn't like this video, please do nothing. As was intended, leave some comments below so that we can keep this discussion going, or post your own video. If you want to see what else I've been reading in the past year, I do have links to my Goodreads down below. Be my friend. You can see what I've been reading, what I've read. So yay, I finished my very first tag. If you have any other tags that you think that would be appropriate for me to do, send them down below and I'll take a look at them.